So, self-efficacy is an orientation to life. It's not a moment in time. It's a way of looking at life. It's a way of looking at the events of your life. And the idea is that you anchor into this belief that whatever life brings to you, you can figure out how to deal with it. Even if you don't have all the answers at the outset, you believe in your capacity to do what's required, to learn what's required, to discover what's required, to get the help you need, to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other and design, develop, create the kind of life that you want. Right at the halfway point of my 2 years with mom and dad after my short sale, I was just down to double digits in my bank account. I had no receivables. My car had been totaled. It was just so hard. And I was feeling broken. And a friend of mine had told me to read the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and I put it in my rotation. I read it. I had read it a couple months earlier. But when I get a good book, first of all, I love audiobooks, so I'll get it on audio and I'll listen to it again. And if it's really good, I'll listen to it a lot. So I was re-listening to the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem in January of 2015. And somehow I heard this concept from Nathaniel Branden, and it stopped me, and I realized I can do this. I'm figuring out how to shovel my way out of debt. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I can do it. I can do this. And from that moment, it took about 9 months for me to navigate from this kind of powerless, stressed out, stuck, frozen place to this kind of excited can-do place. And on the way to the excited can-do place, the curiosity kicked in. The language that I got was, given that this is possible, given that this is going to happen, what do I do now? It oriented me differently. It made me feel like I was just on a path. It made me realize that I could put one foot in front of the other and step by step figure out what to do. I did not have to have the whole big picture. I did not have to have all of the answers at the outset. Now, I'm a clarity junkie. And a lot of times in my life, I have relied on a feeling of clarity and enthusiasm to feel like I'm okay. And so it's difficult for me sometimes to go through those foggy periods. Another book that I really love, which is a little heavy, a little long and dense, but a beautifully written, just beautiful spiritual text, is The Dark Night of the Soul, and by Thomas More. And so that book for me was kind of a guide through those foggy, dark, heavy periods of malaise, of pessimism, and so on. When you're a perfectionist, you are vulnerable to those kinds of moments, those kinds of depressive, heavy moments, because perfection is not on the table for any of us. So if that's your expectation, you're going to get knocked over and over again. You're going to have a kind of a brittle approach to life. And that, unfortunately, is something that I've dealt with a lot in my life. So this self-efficacy concept helped me to get flexible, to start to move my limbs, to get unfrozen, and to get curious, given that it's possible for me to get out of debt, given that it's possible for me to stabilize my income, given that it's possible for me to live an in the black life. What do I do now? Just like today, like right now, like what do I do next? And then just do that thing. And yes, it did ease me out of a stuck place. And yes, 9 months later, I did discover Dave Ramsey and went into this whole Dave Ramsey rabbit hole. But it started with self-efficacy. First came that inner sense that I can do this. I am going to do this. Then came all the little experiments. That's why I liken it to putting on a lab coat and becoming this kind of scientist, because I can be really super serious. I mean, I smile easily and laugh easily, but when it comes to my own life, I can be heavy, demanding, and serious. And this concept of self-efficacy helped me to be more playful. It helped me to look at the circumstances of my life in a more curious, experimental way. The conversations we're having about money are just a doorway into much deeper conversations that we're having about self-respect, relationships, goals and dreams, how we want to live, priorities, things that matter to us, values, social obligation. Those are the real conversations that are just below the surface of the money conversation. So the next time you're thinking about how to deal with an emergency, yes, it's wonderful to have a nice stash of cash available for an emergency. It's wonderful. But I also want to encourage you to remember that the real jewel, the real gem, the real prize, the real treasure is self-efficacy. It's your mindset. I experienced something really interesting while I was slowly accumulating my savings and learning how to have and keep money in savings. I learned that I was still anxious and stressed even when I had money in the bank. And that was when I learned that there's not an automatic peace that comes with having cash. Having cash is really important and great and wonderful, but the peace comes, in my opinion, the peace comes with embodying that experience of self-efficacy, reminding yourself, this crazy thing is happening, this emergency is happening, this unexpected expense showed up, this breakdown is happening, this scary event is happening, and even though it's taking over my awareness and my heart and my mind right now, somewhere in the back of my head, I know I'm going to get through this. I know I'm going to find a way through this, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. I'm going to get through this. That's where the peace comes from. It doesn't necessarily come from the money. The money is like a side effect of these other ways of living. It's kind of interesting. I'm writing about this now, just in my own personal journals, and maybe eventually I'll share. But I'm writing about this a lot now, like just pulling apart some of these ideas that are kind of fused together, like, oh, the money's going to give me peace. Not exactly. The money is going to give you a lot of things, and the money's going to give you flexibility, stability, options, choices, and it's going to be a teacher, but it's not going to be the source of peace. Your belief in your ability to live and to take care of yourself and to figure out what's needed, that's what's going to give you peace. Those are different. They go together and they're related, but they're not the same. And so, yeah, self-efficacy. Self-efficacy.